Welcome to the Market Mindset. We are the hub for news, results, and CEO interviews focusing in the junior commodities sector. We provide market analysis and perspective that will help position you for solid returns. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can help support us by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the notification bell. For more info, you can visit our website. All links are in the description below. Now let's get into today's video.
Good morning, everyone. It's Andrew with the Market Mindset. Today's a real treat. I'm catching up and talking with Dr. Soroush Nazarpour, who's got a Ph.D. in nanotechnology. And before everyone starts running, we're not going to go deep into that level of complexity. But this is a real treat. I don't often get to speak with someone with such an advanced degree. And this is NanoXplore. Many of you will remember the company from the past where I've written about it. But I want to catch up because what a perfect time. This stock has had a great success in the past few years. And I have my own assumptions as to the pullback. Given the market conditions, it's pretty straightforward, I think. But I thought, what a time to catch back up and to look at a company that's on the forefront of opportunity. I mean, we've got enough chaos out there in the market. This is something where people can match their excitement with their wonder, with their imagination, and see how we can solve a lot of these problems with innovations, with capital markets, with big brain thinking. And let's just start it off and talk about NanoXplore. It's a bit of a big intro, Doctor, but it's a real pleasure to have you here. How's it going? Tell me, I mean, we've got a lot to cover, but tell me the story of how we got to today.
Hi, Andrew. It's great to be here. So things are pretty good. I mean, despite the market conditions, it's a business. We have never been like that. We've done pretty good in the last couple of quarters. Sales coming together. I mean, we have announced our guidance. Things are going as we actually said to the market. So getting the graphene produced here and put into the market. So can't be more excited about it.
And this is it's not even at the stage where people think, oh, can we do this? And not to sound too promotional, but the thing that got me a couple of years ago was you can recycle plastic. And I mean, my brain just started going, wait a second, hold on. That's a big deal. Now, I started trying to think okay, look at all the plastic formed material in a car or a bus or in an airplane. If you can recycle that, and I think at that point you're saying it gets stronger and lighter each time that you're able to recycle it.
So we produce graphene, right? So we all heard about graphene. It's this unique material, got the Nobel Prize in 2010. We are the largest producer of graphene in the world. We have about 40% of worldwide production capacity at this time. So we produce this product, and the way we sell it is we work with the downstream customers of us, and we co-develop product. One of those verticals are sustainability in general, or recycled material side. We enable plastics to be reused. And also we enable the applications and products out there to have more and more concentration of recycled plastic in them. So we kind of help this circular economy that we want to reuse the plastic more and more. But the problem is when you reuse the plastic, the performance is not there. They're not strong enough. So graphene as an additive comes in, help the recycled plastics, elevate the properties in a way to be used for the same application, right? So that's one vertical of our business. The other side of our business is in the transportation side, in the composites, how we enable the lightweighting of transportation. Of course, it's a lot more relevant as we go electric, as all the electric transportation is a lot heavier than normal internal combustion engines. So naturally when you have a normal car and have it now electric, you have about 30% of weight increase. Right now you have to find ways to reduce the weight in every component of the vehicle. And of course, the structural and exterior parts are number one, because they're pretty bulky and heavy. On the exterior parts, we improve the strength and properties of the composites parts to reduce the weight and enable the transition of metals to composites, right? That's how we reduce the weight, and inherently we increase the range in electric vehicles. Now, on the other side of our business, we have the battery side, which we add graphene as an additive and also as an active material for the batteries in the anode side, in half of the battery, right? So that enables better capacity, larger, faster charging, higher safety, and those type of properties, again, translates to better batteries that enables longer range. So we kind of go about the problem of range from different sides. Like in interiors of the car, we enable more recycled plastics. On exteriors of the car, we get the weight down by the composites, and also we have better batteries. And that's how we go about this transportation. In the sustainability, we enabled the sustainability in multiple of application in transportation, also in other type of products.
And transportation is such a major factor, and it's a key factor if you look at any of the sustainability, whether it's the Biden administration or you name it. They're saying, listen, we need to focus, and it seems pretty apparent, we're focusing on that first. And get our head wrapped around that. And it can't say enough that the weight factor, the recycle factor, all that, this plastics part, to say a layman who's out there, it's always, well, what do we do about the plastic? I mean, there's not a substitute for this. And it's like, well, right now it doesn't necessarily mean a substitute. It's an additive, actually. So the next question would be, okay, it's got to be super expensive. Like, this has got to be a technique that's really expensive. This would be, I guess, the corollary, but that's not the case either.
That's not the case. So the reality is, I mean, the ugly truth here, we all talk about sustainability, but no one want to pay for it. Mm-hmm. So we all like sustainability when it's cheaper, and it's better and cheaper. And that's why we are kind of enabling that type of change as we produce more profits in the supply chain, okay? So you can't have a product which is super expensive because nobody's going to adopt it. Now, we got into large OEMs. We have all this Ford pickup trucks that are benefiting from our product. And of course, these customers are not going to adopt products that are making it more premium and more expensive. Maybe in some specific platforms, maybe they do it, but in general, solution needs to be cost effective and also more sustainable. That's how you see adoption. So graphene, as the main contributor of the change, cannot be that expensive, cannot be in a price point that nobody can use it, right? So that was the core idea behind our business. We developed technologies to produce graphene, and we scaled them up in a way that brought the production cost down enough that we actually can make profit by selling our product enough to sustain our growth, but also enables our the OEM customers to pick it up and use it and benefit from adoption. So this two together, it's the trick about graphene. There's a lot of people talk about graphene. Very few people actually sell graphene.
Yes. So that's the difference, because it's been a wonder material, say, for the last decade, since it was 2011, was that? Yeah. No, it was 2008 was the Nobel Prize, but 2011 was?
2010 Nobel Prize, and 2004 was a discovery.
Discovery, yes. And for anyone too, as well, I've done some interviews with Nexene Publishing out of the University of Manchester. There's lots of cool information there on graphene as well. So we don't spend too much time talking about all the details, but go back and look at that video too if you want some background. We want to talk more about the business at hand here, and to see, obviously, was it this year you did a $30 million bought deal in January?
No.
Yeah. So you guys have always been very favored institutionally, let's say. But there was a bit of an explosion of retail excitement, I think, when they started to realize, put two and two together. Okay, what's happening here? What's going on? And of course, I mean, it goes without saying, and it isn't an excuse. I hear from every company I talk to, whether it's supply chain issues and of course, COVID and shutting down of businesses, that affects every facet of our life. What do you think the effect of that was for NanoXplore? And then what are some milestones? I know it's a big question, kind of, so someone can kind of scorecard and go, okay, well, what are we looking for now?
Yeah. So on the market, we're kind of only can do the good business and run our business as best as we can, and hope for a realistic behavior in the stock market, which is never the case, right? So we have these overexcitements and underexcitements all the time in the market, which is the nature of the human being. Now, Of course, we are a growth company, so we follow NASDAQ most of the time. So when you have high inflation environment, and then you have this super excitement last year with all this extra capital, with the very low cost of capital, of course, growth really benefits. Now, when the situation turned around and Feds start to become a lot more hawkish, right? So assets that are long duration assets like us, we get really discounted on our DCF, right? So as a result of that, the general market valuation comes down. Now, when it comes down, of course, this goes a lot of under excitement, right? So it creates opportunities for long-term investors and holders to benefit from much higher discounted assets value, right? And that was our case. That's also in the case for many other companies as well. Now, business-wise, though, we have been extremely successful. Like we have actually announced our guidance. We have been beating the guidance. Last quarter, we beat the guidance. We will come out with the result of the year, which we're also very confident about the guidance that we gave out. So business is growing. The numbers are going up. So we did not see a short-term impact from all the stuff happening in the market. Now, in the midterm, of course, there are softening of the economy as a whole, everywhere else that you see that. Of course, we're trying to navigate that and make sure that the growth continues and we do not see slowdown in our growth. But as a whole, as a business, we have never been as good. Like the business is doing phenomenal. We're seeing growth in multiple angles of our business, short-term, mid-term, and also long-term with a lot of initiatives we have in the battery space and also in the concrete space, which is like very two large segments of the growth for us.
Now, I mean, I think no one could possibly discount the importance of just the car industry with the plastics and that form there. That's fine. So I don't think anyone would ever question that. On the battery side, because I've covered some other battery, can you work in collaboration with other companies? Which part do you work as on the absorbent front, or are you guys looking at full battery type of applications, or is it just the graphene in association with in the battery?
The way we see battery is, so we've done the development for more than 6 years now. We have developed technologies in normal batteries, or let's say liquid electrolyte type batteries, and also in solid state. We do not work on chemistries that are very different than what is in the market today. So our improvement on the battery is incremental and it's not disruptive. And we want incremental improvement as we think battery market is extremely undersupplied. So you don't need technical disruption to get into that market. You need just as the same or slightly better to gain market share, okay? Within NanoXplore, we are focused on battery material. So we're actually focused on providing anode material, which is the graphene-enhanced material for the anode, and also pure graphene type structures for the anode. But also we have this joint venture called VoltaXplore that we've done with Martin Reyes. So VoltaXplore is focused on building the first Gigafactory of Canada. So early this year, well, last year, we announced the joint venture. We put the pilot facility, a 1 megawatt-hour battery production facility in Montreal. It came online in April. We are hoping to go and by the end of the year, start the construction of a 2 gigawatt-hour battery facility, which is the first phase of a two-phase program, which ends up with a total of 10 gigawatt-hour of capacity. We're focused on cylindrical batteries, which is what you see in a group of cars like Tesla and Rivian and Lucid and those type of batteries, and also in trucks and buses. So some of the truck manufacturers are using cylindrical cells and some also bus ones. So VoltaXplore is pretty much a company that benefits from technology of NanoXplore when it comes to the battery space. Nano also directly work with other battery manufacturers to supply the anode material direct to them. So we have these two avenues in the battery space. One is through VoltaXplore, which is kind of a subsidiary of the NanoXplore, and also directly to the other battery manufacturers.
I can't. It goes without saying. I've talked about other companies in the battery energy space. Quebec is a great. I mean, the government there, they get it. I mean, I wish our federal government. I've said this before. Would listen to the Quebec government on their complete understanding of this shift in energy, and they're really on board with it. So being in Quebec, I mean, it must be, easy partner to work with. I mean, they get, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, we have not yet disclosed if it's Quebec or is Ontario or is somewhere else.
Okay.
We will keep it as it is for now. But you're absolutely right. Quebec has been extremely smart about building a supply chain. They understood early on the game that the raw material supply, it's a problem in long term for the batteries. And they invested on from all the way from mining to bringing anode and cathode manufacturers and foil manufacturers to Quebec to produce these components. As well, they invested strongly in some of the key customers of the batteries, like Lion Bus, a great company. These guys are doing phenomenal. The business is growing for them, and they're pretty much coming out of this Quebec ecosystem of energy transition. So yes, Quebec has done very good. They have been very smart about where to invest and where to capitalize, and understanding what's the strength, which is really on the mining and upstream and downstream transformation of the mine and deposit into active materials for the battery. They're doing it really good. And yeah, this is going to be a great project for Canada as well.
Now, here's the rumor mill. What came out, I think, earlier on the week, that Elon Musk was looking at Canada possibly. Now, we know anything that he says can cause a stir, but he was possibly looking at creating a gigafactory in Canada. Do you have any thoughts on that? I can only imagine that it only helps to have more people come to Canada, highlight Canada.
Sure. The reality is companies like Tesla, they're the pioneers of this transition, right? So when they decide on a jurisdiction, either provincially or federally, they kind of enable the supply chain, and they bring a lot of momentum to that transition in that jurisdiction. So it is not a surprise that companies are looking at Canada. I mean, the access to raw material, it's absolutely great in Canada as a whole. So people are looking at Canada. Now, Tesla by itself, as a car manufacturer, brings a lot even more than just the battery supply chain, brings a ton of jobs around it. And that's a great initiative for Canada. We hope that actually happens.
Just even the news alone, I was grateful because it wakes Canada up to, listen, we sit in a resource country with a huge chain of critical chain of companies that can supply this and shift into this whole new market, this whole new future. And you guys, as far as I'm concerned, have always played a major role there because of that plastic side. And constantly what you'd hear on the attack side from one energy side would be, well, what about the plastics? What about the plastics? And that alone, never mind the battery performance. And we understand that from, say, GMG and other companies that are doing interesting work in graphene. What do you think are some of the milestones that someone, if they're interested in the company today, and they look and say, okay, and once again, people know I don't trade stocks. I'm not interested in that. I look at long-term companies that are shifting with this huge market change. What are some things that someone should be looking at if they're saying, okay, I've got your attention? What kind of things that they can mark off in the next 3 months, 6 months, a year that you guys are intending to do that you can talk about?
Yeah, so I mean, the first one is our financial guidance, right? So we gave financial guidance to the market last year. And we mentioned for this fiscal year, which actually finished by end of June. So July 1st was the beginning of the fiscal year. So we announced that we are going to do about 85 million of top line and have a fourth quarter of the year with adjusted EBITDA positive, right? So in the third quarter, we actually increased our sales guidance to 90 million. And also, if you look at the ramp up our EBITDA, we're actually on target. So we will of course, we will disclose our financial results sometime in September, and the shareholders can actually look into the progress of our business and also validate some of the guidance that we actually mentioned. So that's one side, which is like a pure financial type deliverables. In the other side, Volta is working toward its financing. So any like within the next couple of months, we hope that we have more updates for the market of how that evolved, right? So that's another milestone. Anything related to the VoltaXplore I found that many of our shareholders are extremely excited about that, and they want to know more about it. So they will definitely know more in the next couple of months about VoltaXplore. Of course, we are trying to come out with our 5 years strategy. So that's something that we will communicate with the market in the next little while to define exactly where we want to go in the next 5 years. We had an internal, at the time we were actually private when we put our previous 5 years. So we actually met all the deliverables in our first 5 years plan, right? It's kind of getting to the end of it. We've delivered it. We're working toward the next 5 years, and we will communicate the main headlines of that strategy, 5 years strategy plan with the market as well. So they can get an idea of where we're going. And based on that presentation and plan, they can actually let's say, judge the growth of the company with that plan. And they can compare the two and see how management is meeting the deliverables, okay? So these are the main line items. Of course, so we have all the time do a lot of contracts with the customers and stuff like that, and POs, and we have a tendency to be very quiet about those type of deliverables. We think that the best thing is to see the financial results, right?
Yeah.
So there's companies that they press release their NDAs.
Yeah.
We sign 5 per day, like imagine. So we don't do those type of press release. We have been consistently doing that. We only inform the market of tangible results, which they can actually attach a dollar to that, not just any partnership or development or joint whatever, right? So we will have a bunch of those information coming out the next couple of quarters.
Excellent. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time, and I'll be honest, I'm looking forward to seeing that 5-year projection, because as I'm glad you mentioned, you hit all of the milestones, you did what you're going to say you're going to do, and this is like the real exciting time. And I think everyone that looks at this shift and this change, the asymmetric gains that are possible, if we're able to do this shift, which it seems like it's all green lights, it's a stressful time for a lot of people right this second. But I love these stories because if they think 5 years out and they imagine being part of a big growth story, this is a compelling story, to say the least. That's already done it for shareholders. They've proven their ability, and we're looking forward to following up as news comes out. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.